Is that it? Are we live? Let's see. Let's check on this. Hopefully we are live, and you can all see me now. Let's see. I'm doing this a little different today if you haven't figured it out yet. Let me make sure that we are up and running. There it is. Whoa. If you haven't figured it out. Okay, so yes, here we are. So look, folks, a little bit disheveled, but it's because this is a different setup than what you're used to seeing in the live streams. I wanted to switch things up today. I wanted to do things a little bit different than what you've been seeing every single week. You look at the same thing over and over and over again, it gets kind of boring, right? So I wanted to do something a little different today. Plus, we're going to talk about nano tanks today, and how perfect is it? I've got these 3 nano tanks sitting right here behind me. Let me just switch over here because of the new, it's not new, but because of the way we have things set up here, I'm going to have to actually read the chat from my phone, which, you know, that'll be fun, but it's better than the way it is normally. So listen, if this is the first time you have clicked on one of my videos, first of all, thank you very, very much. Wow, stuttered on that one. I do this every single week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays, Tank Talk Live. My name is John. I'm with KGTropicals.com. If you haven't heard of me before, welcome. This is the first time you've experienced me. That's cool. I mean, you never know. I might have something here for you. So let's see. Yeah, see, that's the mistake you make when you're doing these live streams, because you look at the chat before you probably should. So today we're going to talk all about nano tanks. Of course, before we get into that, I do want to update you on a couple of things that have to do with my own nano tanks here, things that I'm really excited about. Got a lot of things coming for the Flooville Flex. Now, looking at it in the camera, it looks blue, and I did that because if it's turned on to the white lights, it's so bright that it kind of, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it. It makes it so bright that you couldn't even see anything on the camera. So I switched it to blue, but it doesn't normally look like that. If this is the first time you have joined one of these live streams, I got this tank 2 weeks ago and just got it set up over the weekend, over New Year's weekend. I got the substrate in there. I've got it full of water, and it is currently running, but we've got a bunch of things on the way for this tank. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited. Now, I'm not going to tell you what kind of substrate I went with and all that. You got to wait for the video for that, but that'll be coming very soon. But I've got things on the way for this tank that I wanted to tell you about. And one of the things for this tank showed up today, and this is actually going to be a disaster. Let me see if I can do this. I got a bunch of dragonstone, and I've got it soaking in water because this is my first time ever getting dragonstone, but it's very dirty. And so I did scrub it off really good, but I've had it soaking in water. Let's see how that shows up on the camera. Shows up pretty good here. Let's see. Yep. So there's the big piece. I've got a bunch of pieces, probably 7 or 8 pieces. All of the others are smaller than this, though. And I didn't bring a towel to dry my hands. Isn't that nice? I'm a real professional here. So that just came in today, and I scrubbed it down real good, and I have it soaking in warm water now. And I'm probably going to scrub it again because that stuff was really dirty. It came in from Houston, really? I said that word wrong. This is where editing would come in very handy. Houston, Manzanita. This is a company that I was just introduced to maybe a week ago. I don't know. They're a member of the Tank Talk Facebook group, and we started talking, and they sent this to me, and they've also sent, when you hear about a company called Houston Manzanita, you might be thinking, well, what about the wood? Because that's what Manzanita is. Well, they're sending me some of that too. It didn't get here, though. It was supposed to get here today. The Postal Service, you know, what are you going to do? But it is, according to the tracking information, it's on its way, but it's not here yet. Manzanita, if you're not familiar with what kind of wood that is, I've never had any of it before personally, but it's the very thin driftwood, the kind of stuff that, I don't know how to describe it, but you see this kind of web-looking wood, not driftwood, but wood in these fancy aquascape aquariums That's either spider wood or manzanita. This stuff is not spider wood. I don't like spiders at all, and so I would not have anything with that name in one of my tanks, but it's very, very cool. I can't wait to get it. It was a pleasure working with that company. They're not a sponsor of me or anything like that. I just feel like I should give credit where credit's due. When you contact, I spoke with a gentleman named Adam, might be his company, I don't know, but I spoke with a gentleman named Adam from that company. He worked with me. He sent me pictures of all of the stones that he was going to be sending. He sent pictures of the wood, all of that. And it's almost like you're shopping at a store because you can pick out what you want. I thought that was really cool. Instead of just saying, yes, send me a piece of manzanita or send me a certain poundage of dragonstone, you can actually pick what you want. I thought that was really cool. Something I hadn't seen before. And I thought that was kind of something above what I'd seen from other places. I'm not disparaging any other places. No way would I do that. But I thought that this was just one of those steps that I hadn't seen before, and I thought that was really cool. I thought it was worth highlighting there. So that's Houston Manzanita. Why is that so difficult for me to say? I should have put the link in the description, but I forgot. I will do it. If you're watching this on the replay, I will have it in there for you. I could do it right now, but then I'd be stepping away and, you guys would get bored, and we don't want to do that. So if you're a member of the Tank Talk Facebook group, they're on there. Just search Houston. Just search the word Houston, like in Texas. Yes, that's where they're at. Search that. Houston Manzanita. Adam is the name on the Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Tank Talk group, if you're not a member of the Tank Talk Nation yet, you need to join that group. That, I can tell you, is at the very top of the description down below. So join that. We're having a lot of fun over in that group. So a lot of really good people in there. And, what can I say? It's growing. It has to be. I don't know this as any kind of fact or anything like that, but it has to be the fastest growing aquarium Facebook group. It has to be, because it's growing so fast I can't even keep up with it. I've got, I think, 10 mods in there now, and every single one of them, every time they sign in, they're accepting a dozen or 2 dozen new members. So be a part of that. Join the Tank Talk Facebook group. Again, link is in the description. Now, we've got, wow, there's so many comments already coming through. Good Lord Almighty. So there's another thing that's coming for the Flex, multiple things. And it's another thing that was supposed to show up today, but again, no fault of the company that sent it. It is our trusty United States Postal Service. I've got an order of plants coming in from, who do you think? Aquarium Co-op. Yes, Corey and I went back and forth, and I picked out some stuff. He said this stuff would go good. We kind of put our ideas together and got a big package of plants coming in for the Flooville Flex. Cannot wait for that. It didn't show up today. The tracking information said it was supposed to be here today, and it's not. And it's really cold. They're actually calling for snow. I'm a little bit nervous, but my hope is that this order of plants will show up tomorrow. And I'm thinking maybe I might even do like a live planting. I don't know. We'll see. I think that'd be fun. It'll either be, if I do that, it'll either be here or it'll be on the Facebook group. So there you go. I don't know. We'll have to see how the day goes tomorrow. So we've got some cool, we've got some first-time watchers here. That's very cool. John, you got to read off a teleprompter. I wish I had a teleprompter. That'd make things very, very easy. Let's see. Okay, so a lot of people saying cool things, saying hello. First-time watchers, very cool. I'm going to need to step away from the chat, though, for a little bit, because I want to talk about a little bit more about the Flex, and then I want to get into what we're here to hear about today with these Nano Tanks. Now, again, if this is your first time watching this live stream, you might have been thinking by now, John, get to the point. My God, who is this guy? He talks too much. Well, this is a live event that we're doing. If you're watching this any day other than Thursday, January 5th, you're watching a replay of this. If you were watching it live, it would probably make a little bit more sense to you. But when it's live, I just kind of wing it and I go casual. I'm not under any type of deadlines or anything like that. So maybe I will put in the description the time that I actually start that topic. Might make it a little easier for you. And you know what? There's a lot of people that already do that in the comment section. So there you go. Future plans for the Flooville spec. Well, I just told you the Dragonstone is here. The Manzanita is on the way. The plants are on the way. And then once that's done, going to let it cook for a bit, let the tank come to life. And then I will be adding the new family members into there. And this is something that I am super excited about. And it involves a guest on next week's live stream. I'm going to put shrimp in this tank. And I'm going to put a lot of shrimp in this tank. I'm probably going to mix up 2 different types of shrimp in this tank. And I don't care if anybody calls me a jerk for that. I'm going to do it because I had this idea, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the pure red line crystal shrimp from Flip Aquatics, and also the royal blue tigers. And so it's going to be red, white, and blue. Are you kidding me? The pure red line crystals are a red and white striped with the blue shrimps. Are you kidding me? That's going to be a nice little patriotic tank. I don't know. It sounds a little silly, but that's going to be really cool. And if they breed, they'll be little American flag shrimp. They'll be patriot shrimp. Who knows? So on that note of ordering those shrimp from Flip Aquatics, yes, he is the one that's going to be my special guest next week on this live stream, 8 o'clock. I don't know what the date's going to be. If you add 7 to 12 or to 5, that would be the 12th. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But Rob from Flip Aquatics is going to be joining me next week. We're going to talk all about freshwater shrimp. And I'm excited about it because I'm starting to develop an obsession with shrimp. I don't know. This is new to me. You may get lucky and you may see my pistol shrimp. He might come out and say hello in my reef tank here. I've got 2 saltwater shrimp and I'm obsessed with them. So going freshwater and doing freshwater shrimp, that's just going to be something that's going to be super cool. So, but that's going to be a while from now. I mean, of course, I've got to let the tank do its thing and be ready for the shrimp before I add them in there. But of course, I will show all of that to you on video. And the substrate, the setup of the Flooville Flex, as well as the stone, the plants, the wood, all of that is going to be in individual videos, which will be coming out in the coming weeks, along with the angel videos and everything. It's going to be crazy. So I know I've been saying that every week, but you know, it is what it is. So that's that. That's the update on that. Really excited. Big thanks to Houston Manzanita for the rocks and the wood that's on its way. And of course, a big, big shout out and thank you to Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Y'all know who he is. If you don't know, then this is your first time ever watching fish videos on YouTube because he's everywhere right now. So big thank you to those guys. And big thank you to Rob for coming on the live stream next week. I'm going to thank him in advance. So let's talk about Nano Tanks. I'm sitting here in front of 3 of them. This is kind of weird because usually I can see myself and now I can't. So if I'm looking off into all weird directions, just bear with me here. Let's see. Let me just check one thing here before Rob's going to be here. I met him at the Aquatic Experience. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Aquatic Experience in just a second. But yeah, that's something I'm excited about. Rob is a cool dude, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll tell you a story about me meeting Rob at the Aquatic Experience and how I embarrassed myself. And it was something that's still a year and a few months later is still bothering me. And he remembers it too. Come back next week and I'll tell you about that. It involves this guy being a bit of a diva. And I've never been that way before, and it was weird. So I wasn't a diva, but it was almost like I kind of was because of the way I behaved myself when I was there with him. But anyway, that's next week. That'll be a lot of fun. Nano Tanks. There's a big reason why I wanted to talk about Nano Tanks today. You can see 3 of them behind me. I've actually got 4, and this has become a new part of this hobby for me. That's a blast. I'm having a ton of fun with it. It's opened up new things to me that I had not ever been exposed. I'd been exposed to, but I never had prior to getting these tanks. So it's really exciting for me to be exploring this new angle to the hobby. And because I've got 4 of them now, I figured I would go ahead and do an episode talking all about them. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about what nano tanks are. We're going to talk about the benefits of nano tanks, the different reasons why these tanks are just so cool I mean, maybe I should have had Sean Peck on this live stream because I think he's got 9 of them. That would have made a lot of sense. Mind blown. I think it's a bit too late to get him to join in right now. But let me skim through and see if he hasn't made any comments. So I was going to say, if he's in here, I could send him the link and bring him on here. But first thing we're going to talk about is what is a nano tank. Now, first of all, folks, let me just be very clear. I am by no means an expert. I am not a nano tank expert. I'm not a small aquarium or planted aquarium or small reef or guppy. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. What I'm going to share with you is my experiences with these tanks, why I love them so much and why I think you will too. And I'm going to give you my definition of what a nano tank is. I'm not reading it out of a book. I'm just telling you. A nano tank, if you typed into YouTube, what is a nano tank, and you were directed to this video and you've made it this far, I'm going to tell you what I would define a nano tank as. It's a small aquarium. That's what a nano tank is. But I take it a step further. When I hear the title nano tank, nano aquarium, what immediately pops into my head are tanks like these that you see behind me, which are the complete systems. They're the tank with the filtration system, everything all built in. It's kind of a complete unit that's made specifically for this type of application. That's what pops into my head. That by no means is the actual definition of it. Over the years, the last, I don't know, 10 years, maybe even a lot longer than that, companies have been manufacturing these small systems, little compact, low-gallon systems that are complete systems. And so to me, that is what I think of when I think of nano tank. But the actual definition is it's just a small aquarium. I've read somewhere it has to be under 20 gallons. I don't know. If it's a small tank, I'm like, oh, that's cute. It's a nano tank. But a small tank, a small aquarium is a nano tank. I think I even read somewhere that said it has to be under 10 gallons. I don't have any. Well, no, I do. What am I talking about? What am I, an idiot? I have one that's under 10 gallons, but I don't think that that's true. I think a small tank is a nano. Now, when I started keeping fish back in 1993, it had to be big. Everything had to be big, at least in my world. Now, the aquatic world back then was a lot smaller than it is now. I don't mean that there was less people keeping fish. What I mean is you didn't see as many people keeping fish as you do now. I had 2 friends with fish tanks, and then I had the people at the pet store. That's all I had, and that was as broad a reach as I had in this hobby, where now you've got access to people from all over the world. I get emails every night from people from India and Bangladesh and Jamaica, and it's crazy. All over the world, these people are seeing my tanks, and if you started putting up videos on YouTube, they would see yours too. It's amazing how big this world is now, but back in the early 90s and earlier than that, it was very, very small. And so in my small world, everything had to be big. Big fish, big tanks. I mean, if you didn't have a big tank, you were a nobody. But what was a big tank back then? To me, a big tank was a 55-gallon tank. Man, you were legit. You were like a real fish keeper if you had a 55-gallon tank. We think about that now, and we think that's absolutely ridiculous. But you had hit it big. You had hit the big time if you had a 55-gallon tank. Forget about it if you had something like a 125 or a 180. These are tanks that you can go to any pet store now and buy a 125-gallon tank. But back then, it'd be cool just to see one. But everything was about getting as big as possible. And so to me, that's what the hobby was all about. I don't have a desk in front of me, so my hands are kind of all over the place. I apologize. But to me, it was all about bigger is better. That's what I thought of when it came to aquariums. And took a little bit of a break, come back to it, and all of a sudden, there is this huge movement of small little tanks. That doesn't make much sense, does it? But these nano tanks and these complete systems that you see behind me, all of a sudden they just blossomed. Now, they could have been out long before then, but this is when I really took notice of nano tanks, was about 10 years ago. And to me, I looked at them and I said, that's really nice, but it's not really my thing. That's not for me, because everything has to be big. And by the way, if this is the first time you've watched one of my videos, go watch any of my others. There's usually 500 gallons worth of aquariums behind me, 3 tanks that total that much. So I still like big tanks, but when I took my little break and I came back, it was still all about big tanks. And the first tank I bought when I came back to this hobby was 125 gallon, and it's actually still in use today. It's the tank that my discus are in, but it's still, everything had to be big. But when did this change for me? There's 2 reasons why this whole concept of nano tanks changed for me, and the little light bulb went off in my head. The first is when I went to the aquatic experience in 2015. I keep wanting to say last year, but it was actually, you know, as far as calendar years go, 2 years. 2015, I went to the aquatic experience in Chicago, had a blast. It was a wonderful time. I'm really sad that I wasn't able to get back there this last November. But while I was there, they did the contest, the little aquascaping contest in the teeny tiny Flooville nano tanks. And that was the first time that I'd really been up close and seen what was capable, or what these people were capable of doing in these tanks. And I said, okay, now that makes a little bit more sense to me, because they were having a contest. The kids were doing the contest in the little teeny tiny ones, and it was just cool. I saw all these plants and these microfish, and I started thinking, okay, I understand now why these are so popular. I get it, because they're like little art projects and they're pretty, and that's cool. They also had the larger tanks that there was the contest for aquascaping and stuff like that, but the little ones are the ones that stood out to me. And then it's my relationship with Flooville. Over the last year, I have developed a very good relationship with them, and they have sent me 4 nano tanks in the last year. One of them is off camera right now. Again, if this is your first time joining, I've got a 24-gallon Flooville saltwater tank. It's a fish-only tank at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to add corals. I will someday, but I shouldn't have said I don't know. I will. But that's over there, and I couldn't get all 4 of them into one shot here. But so there's that one, and then this is the Flooville Evo 12-gallon, the Flooville Flex 13-gallon, and the Spec 5-gallon. These all came to me in the last year. I didn't ask for these tanks. They just showed up at my house. I talked to the guy about the M60, if you're wondering which system that is. The Flooville M60 is the larger saltwater system that I have. Did talk to him about that in Chicago, but these 3, they just appeared on my porch. And yeah, I'm a lucky guy. I get that. So it's like, okay, I'm looking for a project, something that'll be fun. And oh, look, Santa Claus just dropped off one of these tanks. And it almost seems like they're reading my mind, because they always come at the perfect time. So I was not only intrigued by these small tanks in Chicago, but I also was kind of thrown into them when these tanks showed up. Because what am I going to do? I'm not going to send it back and say, nope, not interested. No way. Not in these cool little systems here. So set them up, get them going, and have some fun with them. Haven't done a ton with these, but I've been enjoying the heck out of them. And they've been a big part of my life for the last, well, this one only a couple of weeks, but for the last half a year or so, I've really been enjoying these tanks a lot. So it's a whole new thing for me. And those are the 2 things that really got me interested in these. I've always been exposed to nano tanks. I've been a subscriber to Peck Tech for like 5 years. So I've seen these nano tanks, but there was something different. Something clicked when I saw them in person. So there you go. I got a hair in my mouth, and it's really bothering me. Tried to avoid it, but it's what happens when you have cats and dogs and everything else. So that's what got me into these small tanks, something I never thought I would ever be into, but it's a huge thing now. It's a big part of what I do. So let's see. Let me make sure. I always like to check the chat real quick to make sure that I'm not, nobody's saying something like, oh, the audio cut out or something. Okay. Nope. Look, everything looks good. Okay. So we can move on then, right? So these nano tanks, I think they play a huge role in the hobby, I think they're going to play an even bigger role, because the most important thing that we can do in this hobby is bring on more aquarists, because everything gets better when more people come into a hobby. Think about it. More people come in, more people are spending money. Manufacturers put more money in their pocket. What are they going to want to do? They're going to want to make more money, so they're going to come out with new, fancier products. So we want to get as many people as we can. And I think that one of the biggest benefits to a nano tank is the fact that it opens the door to a lot of people that otherwise would have no interest in keeping an aquarium. That's going to be the first benefit that we're going to talk about when it comes to these nanos. Space. Look at these things. I've got this one on a desk, and then I've got two on another desk. I don't know how well the desk is showing up. It's not really showing up at all, but this is just an old desk that we bought off Craigslist a long time ago. I don't even know why Lisa bought it, but it was just down here in the basement. It's very sturdy. Of course, I shake it and the water moves. It makes me look like an idiot, but it's a sturdy little desk, and I've got two of them on there. So you don't have this giant monstrosity in your living room taking up half the room. And let's face it, a lot of people, when they get interested in fish keeping, they're gung-ho in the beginning, and then after a few months, it kind of dies off a little bit. Unfortunately, there's more people that do that than people like us that are bananas over fish and will watch a video of a weird guy in his basement talking about little tanks. You know, there's not as many of us. Most people that get into this hobby get into it and they lose interest because it's too much work, or it's taking up this huge amount of space in their living room, whatever it is. Well, with these kind of tanks, you don't have that issue. It's not going to be the main focal point in a room. You can put it on a desk, you can put it on a bookcase or on a nightstand or a dresser. It doesn't have to occupy a massive area in your room. And I think that's awesome. And you're not needing to restructure your floor. I mean, I've got a 240-gallon tank sitting right behind you. You turn around, you might actually be able to see it. It's right there. I could try to do the math in my head right now, but I'd probably embarrass myself. That thing weighs a lot, folks. 8 pounds per gallon, 240 gallons, probably another 30 gallons in the filter. Just do the math. This thing is ridiculously heavy. I've got it in my basement, so it's not an issue. But I don't know how comfortable I would feel putting that into the second floor of a house, especially when we're just renting this joint. So I don't know how I would feel about that. And that's a concern for a lot of people. I get that email all the time. I want to get a 180-gallon tank, but is my house going to support it? Like I am some type of structural engineer. But you don't have to worry about that with these nano tanks, because like I said, you can get an old desk off of Craigslist. This desk right here, you could literally park a four-wheel drive pickup truck on and it's not going to move. But I could probably put 12 of these things on there and it wouldn't budge. That's what's great about this. I've seen people with these on their kitchen counters. In fact, I used to have one on my kitchen counter. I mean, you can put them anywhere, and that's one of the best things about it. You don't have half your room being taken up. I go into a lot of houses for my job that pays my bills, folks. I go into 6 or 7 houses per day to fix people's furniture. I see a lot of aquariums with the water line that far below the trim, and the filter is barely running, barely trickling any water out. The fish are in there, they're miserable. I see more of that than I do people with fancy setups like you probably have. So there's a lot of those people out there, and that's sad when you see that, because what's going to end up happening with that setup is someone loses interest and they're going to end up selling that on Craigslist. I think it's different with these because they're smaller, they're easier to take care of. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but they're also not taking up this gigantic space in your house. If you got people coming over and you need as much space as possible, you can drain a little bit of the water out, pick this bad boy up and just carry it into another room. That's what I did with this one over the weekend when I brought it from the back of my basement here and brought it up here and put it on my desk. I mean, it doesn't weigh all that much. So that's very nice. Easy to move around if you need to. Doesn't take up a lot of space. There you go. The next thing that we're going to talk about as far as what I believe to be the benefit of these tanks is the budget. Now, the aquarium hobby, just like any other hobby, I don't care what you're into. If you're into knitting, if you're into drones, doesn't matter. If you're into online gaming, it's all expensive. I mean, you're going to put a lot of money into something that you're passionate about. This hobby can get ridiculous in how expensive it is. But think about these tanks. Think about these systems. I actually put a note down here of what they cost and all that kind of stuff, what these 3 tanks cost, just to be able to have something to talk about. But these systems are sold as complete kits. You get everything that you see here. You get the light, you get the tank, you get the filtration. Everything is all built in. I'm not doing a commercial for Flooville here, folks. I'm talking about the nano tanks in general. A lot of companies make these, but you get the whole system all in one. And like this one here, let's see, let's go from smallest to biggest. The spec, this Flooville spec, which has a towel on it right now, if you're wondering. I put a towel on it because the light is like that. If I don't have the light on there. So that's why it looks like that. But it usually looks a lot better than this. You know, there you go. This system right here, which comes with the tank, the lid, the LED light, the filtration system, all of the components of the filtration system, including the pump and the plumbing and all of that, $79.99. The only thing you would need to buy to go with that is a heater, and that depends on what kind of fish you're going to keep anyway. But almost all fish that we keep are going to require a heater. A heater for a tank, the 5-gallon tank, costs next to nothing. And that's the case with all of these. None of these, at least the Flooville variety of these nano tanks, none of the Floovilles come with heaters. That's the only thing. I don't know why. I don't know why they don't come with heaters. One of these days I'm going to ask one of the guys at Flooville why that is. But, you know, it is what it is. They don't come with heaters. You do have to buy those. But if you think about a heater, even like the best heater for a 5-gallon tank, what's it going to cost you? 15 bucks? I mean, so you add that to the $79.99, you're paying under $100 and you have everything that you need to run this system. That's beautiful. Now, some people are going to look at that and say, yeah, but John, I mean, I can buy a 10-gallon tank and a little teeny sponge filter for $5 and an air pump and I can spend $40. Yes, you can, but I'm talking about people that are brand new to this, that want simplicity. They want to get something that is easy. They don't want to be overwhelmed with all these different decisions that have to be made. These are perfect because you buy this, you buy a heater, you buy some decorations, and you're done. So I love that about these. And they're cheap. $79.99 for that when you consider who's buying a setup like this. Now the Evo, this Evo, now again, I don't know if you can see it. You can't. There is the protein skimmer on here, which is an additional accessory that you can buy for this, and also the heater. I've got actually a now this one, I have the Cobalt Neotherm heater in this tank, but the system itself, the tank, the light, which is a really nice LED, which has a touch button on it and all that's beautiful. The pump, just like the spec, this one is $149.99, and this is set up to be a reef tank, which mine is. It's the start of a reef anyway. Looks pretty bad right now. But anyway, $149, you're getting all of this. The skimmer, I think, is an extra $30 to $50 for the protein skimmer. And then, again, heater, it's not going to cost you all that much. The Flex is brand new. It just came out. So, of course, when a brand new product comes out, it's always a couple dollars more than it will be several months from now. $169.99. That's for the 13-gallon Flex, which has this really cool bow front. Again, LED light, the lid, the pump, the everything, except for the filter. So again, if you're somebody that is thinking about a nano tank because they're smaller and you can put it on your kitchen counter, and these are great for that, especially if you're brand new, because you don't have to make a bunch of decisions. You don't have to make any calculations of what size filter you need, and all that comes with it all. So budget and flexibility of the size, where you can put them, those are two of the biggest reasons why I think nano tanks have become as popular as they've become. Last thing, and then we'll open this up. What kind of time are we looking at? 8:36. I'm making good time right now. The last thing that I think, well, there's really two things, but I didn't take a note of the third. Anyway, to me, one of the biggest Aquarist killers, and what I mean by Aquarist killer is things about this hobby that make people get out, that just frustrate them and they don't want to deal with it anymore. The number one thing is maintenance. If you have a 150-gallon tank, It's a lot of work. And people like us enjoy that kind of work. It's part of the deal. I've got 10 tanks now, and I enjoy taking care of them. I enjoy wiping the glass off and doing my water change. I like that. It's fun for me. I like to see how happy the fish are after I do my maintenance on them. But a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people are lazy and they just want to look at something and they want to have it be nice. Maintaining a tank this size is simple. Now, this one looks really bad right now. Please just bear with me and don't make fun of me on it. This is new to me. It's my first attempt at a reef. So I don't know how well it's even showing up. It might look good on camera. I don't know. But it's not like it's something where you're going to have to be carrying several buckets through the house and you're lugging all this water, and it's not going to be anything like that when it comes to maintaining these tanks. You could literally, I mean, depending on what you're keeping, of course, this tank right here with the substrate that I have in it, I'm getting ready to plant this tank. It's going to be heavily planted. I've got the guppies in there. I'm going to put some shrimp in there too. I'm not going to be vacuuming the gravel of this tank after all of that is in there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to literally take a fish carrier, which you've seen at your local pet store. They hang it on the side of the tank, and that's how they catch your fish when you buy fish. I'm going to use one of those. I'm going to scoop water out, dump it, fill it up, and put it back in. It's that easy. It's going to be that simple to maintain that tank. And the flex will be the same way. You're not going to be lugging any hoses or anything like that around the house. And one of the beautiful things that I've never been able to do, because my tanks have always been way too big, is that you could fill these up using a 5-gallon bucket or a small pail, and you can fill the bucket up at your sink. And you can actually take a thermometer with you and adjust the temperature of the water to make sure that the water that you're putting into the tank is the exact same temperature or within a degree or two of the water that was already in there. That's a beautiful thing. If you've got 100 or like my 240, I do 50% water changes in there because I've got like 60 fish in there. And that's 120 gallons of water. My water heater is only 75 gallons. So it doesn't take long for the warm water to be gone, and then the kids start yelling because they can't take a shower. You understand what I'm saying? It's a huge hassle to do that on a huge tank like that. But with these, you're literally just filling up a couple of pails or a couple of pitchers or something like that. Super easy to do it. Now, there is more maintenance to it. I'm not trying to do a tutorial on how to maintain these tanks, but what I'm telling you is the maintenance is simple because everything is small, everything is compact, and everything's cheap. If you're going to replace, if you're going to use carbon in one of these, or if you're using some type of biomedia, you're buying so little of it that it costs you next to nothing to replace it. It's easy to get to because it's just in these little cavities. Couldn't be easier. The maintenance is a breeze on these tanks because they're so small. And if you're not looking at maintenance as being this huge hassle, that's not going to be something that's going to scare you away from this hobby. And to me, I think that along with budget and along with the size, and I think it's probably the most important thing when it comes to these tanks is the fact that it's so easy to take care of them. Now, I need to take a drink because, good Lord, I've been going and going. Now, there is one thing, though, because there's going to be people, if they haven't said it already, they're going to say, well, yeah, John, but aren't smaller tanks more difficult to keep the water stable, particularly in a reef tank? Yes, that's true. I mean, the smaller the tank, the more of a swing just a small shift of pH can give, or a little bit of ammonia can really hurt a lot of things in a small body of water like that, where if it was a big tank, it would be dispersed. That's true. That's very true. But again, if I have an ammonia spike in one of my 125-gallon tanks, or the nitrates get out of control, or anything goes wrong in one of those tanks, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to do a water change, right? And I'm going to start checking things. I'm going to squeeze out my filters in aquarium water, my sponges. I'm going to start doing these things to try to remedy that problem in the water. Well, how long is it going to take to do that on a tank that size? Come on. It's very, very simple. So yes, it is true that there could be a problem that could happen in these tanks, and it might be a problem that is more apt to happen in a tank this size than it would be a large one. But to resolve that issue is going to be easier in this tank too. So I don't look at that as something that should scare people away. A new fish keeper is going to have problems in an aquarium. It doesn't matter what size it is. We've all had the problems, and every single person who gets into fish keeping after us is going to have those problems too. So would you rather have an easy tank that you can go get a pitcher and do a 50% water change in 2 minutes? Or would you rather be a new fish keeper pulling out your hair, if you're not like me and you have hair, because you have to do a 75-gallon water change in your 150-gallon tank? I'm just saying, very easy to do that in here. It is true that maintaining stability, maintaining your levels and everything in a smaller tank can be a little bit more tricky. But if a big problem happens, it's a lot less work to take care of it. So those, to me, are the reasons why these are so cool. There's one more thing. Remember, I said I didn't have this one planned. I'm completely becoming infatuated with the whole artistic side of these nano tanks. I'm watching these videos, the Green Machine, and all of these other aquascaping videos I'm watching. I don't know that I'll ever be as good as any of these guys, but that's cool. That's cool to see that. I watched Oliver Knott in Chicago. He was working on a tank. It wasn't like his formal presentation that I watched, but I saw him working on a tank. If you don't know who he is, I didn't know who he was until I went to Chicago either. He's a very prominent aquascaper. He's written books and all of that. Very popular guy. He was a very nice guy too. Seeing him do that and watching what goes into these tanks to make them as beautiful as it's impressive. And I enjoy watching it. Maybe someday I might actually get to a place where I can create little art projects like that too. So this one here is going to be the first where I'm going to actually take a stab at that. No, this is not an attempt at that. I don't know how well this tank is showing up, but I've got a piece of driftwood here and a moss and a little bit of octopus plants and all that, which are my favorite because they're so easy. But there's nothing real special going on in that tank right now. This is going to be the one where I'm going to actually try to do something fancy in there. So again, if you want to see all of the progress on that tank, I'm not going to do it in every live stream. I'm going to do it in individual videos. The first one will be the actual setup of the tank. So that'll be coming very soon. So if you're somebody that's thinking about a nano tank, if you're thinking about getting into fish keeping, there's a lot of people that ask the question, hey, I'm just getting into this. I'm wondering what the best tank to start with is. It's an impossible question to answer unless it was like my mom that asked me that, because I don't know your situation. But what I will tell you is, in my opinion, these nano tanks are great starter tanks. It takes the guesswork out of what equipment you need for it. There's a lot you can do with them. Yeah, you can't go get 2 Oscars and a Red Devil and put them in here. You are limited as far as the fish that can go in them. But the fish are really cute because they're small, and that's really cool too. Chili Rasboras, by the way, I'm going to get for that tank. Can't wait for that. So, you know, it's a great starter tank. They're easy to take care of. When you consider the big picture, they're relatively inexpensive to get. I have 4 Flooville nano tanks. I love them. Yes, there are several other brands out there that are doing it, and they're doing it well. So search around and see what's out there. If you want information on these, I've got videos on my channel of all of them. So there you go. There is my spiel. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm trying. There is my spiel. There's nobody over there on nano tanks. I hope you enjoyed it. I've had fun with it. Let's go to the chat. I got to wake my phone up again. Let's see if there's anything going on here in the chat. If you are someone who has put a question or a topic suggestion into the chat, understand I did not see it because I've been talking to you this whole time. So with small water amounts, aren't the parameters harder to keep if they are off? Yeah, see, that's what I was saying, Vaughn. It's true. You got to dial things in, and it can be tricky in these size tanks, but once you're there, and it's really not all that difficult. To me, the thing that more people complain about is if you have a small spike in something, it's like, catastrophic in a tank this size, whereas it wouldn't be in a big tank. So there you go. I hope that helps. And I apologize to any of my friends in Ohio who happen to be fans of the Columbus hockey team, because you seen what my boys are doing to them? Okay, let's see here. Yep, dead air. That's the thing that kills every single thing. All right, so here's what I'm going to do, folks, because this is very, very difficult to read on my phone. I have perfect vision, 20/20, but it's hard to scroll through it all and read it. So if you put up your suggestions now in the chat, we've got 15 minutes or so. I can go through those and let you know. Hey John, what's going on with your vaping channel? Oh, that's a long story. August 8th kind of took the wind out of my sails, if I'm being honest. And then I got a string of like 4 or 5 products that were sent to me that were really bad. And I kind of felt myself not wanting to review them. And then it just kind of fell apart. I had computer problems. It is what it is. But I just got something the other day from Sigelli, which I should be reviewing here soon. And the shop that was kind of sponsoring my vaping channel before is opening a second location. And they're going to throw me a bunch of stuff to review too. So that should be coming real soon. So there you go. If I talk about it anymore, people are going to get really mad at me. What do you have in the flex tank? Water. That's what I have in there. And I have substrate in there, but we'll talk about that in another video. What's there going to be in there? I got a bunch of plants that are sitting in a USPS truck right now, which really pisses me off. I've got dragonstone. I've got manzanita wood. I've got, not yet, but I'm going to get some shrimp and some rasboras. That's what is eventually going to go in there. Be watching the channel, and you will see everything, because I'm going to do individual quick little short videos for those. What type of fork later would be best for a planted nano tank? Something with minimal flow. Fork later? I don't know what that is. I always overfiltrate my small tanks, whether it's better biomedia or corner flow plus sponge filters. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Overfiltration's never a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. Crystal shrimp, yes, that's the one. The red and white ones, I love it. Flip Aquatics is where those are going to come from. And the main reason I love that guy. I've been subscribed to him for years. I've been following him. And he's the only one that I've seen that has them, the red and white ones. I'm not talking about some of the shrimp are white and some of the shrimp are red. I'm talking about they're red and white, candy cane striped. And I love that. That was the first freshwater shrimp that I absolutely fell in love with. I know L.R. Bretz is in here. He is also a member of the Tank Talk group, and he is a shrimp guy too. And I was talking to him also, but I don't think he had those type. I don't know. But there you go. The Lub Diesel, yeah, Robert Lupton. He's a guy I haven't known, but I have met in person, and that's why I got together with him. He's supposed to be coming over for a tour. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, he is a good dude. Yeah, I'll tell the story next week about how I embarrassed myself in front of him, and I felt like a total jerk. It bothers me to this day. I will probably lose sleep tonight thinking about it, because I know that he's going to be on my stream in just a week. He's coming on next week, and I feel like such a jerk over that. You don't have the crystals available yet. See, well, there you go. But you know what? I told you that we'll work together, and we will. Don't worry, because I want to put some shrimp in there too. And so, of course, I'm going to want 3 different kinds. So there you go. We'll do that. We'll work together on there. Somebody said, where did it go? Somebody put something in here and I lost it. See, this is really hard on the phone. I have a 5.5 gallon with a beta and some A shrimp, a mono shrimp, or A shrimp. I don't know. I never had a problem with any of the water parameters. All I have to do is 50% water change every week. There you go. Nano equals built-in filter. Can nano size a small gallon? Yeah, see, Paul, you may have missed the beginning, even though you are one of the most reliable people to be in the streams at all times. But I don't think that it has to have the built-in filtration. I think a nano tank is just a small tank. But when I think of a nano tank, I think of tanks like these that have the built-in filtration. That's just me. Some people consider under 30 gallons nano. Yeah, I've heard 30s, I've heard 20s, I've heard 10. I mean, I've got a 24 gallon. I call that a nano. 5 gallon, 12 gallon, 13 gallon. They're all nanos to me. CO2 for planted nano tanks. That's something I've never done and don't know if I will. Talked with Corey about the plants that are in transit to me right now. And it was, hey, I don't have CO2. He knows I don't have CO2. Don't send me something that requires CO2. Is that something I might add later on? Maybe. Why not? I mean, again, going back to what we were talking about before, putting a CO2 system on a tank this size, 13 gallon, would be dirt cheap. Imagine the cost if I wanted to put a CO2 system on my 125 gallon tank. I would probably actually put it on that tank before I would put it on this, or no, because I don't know. Just the difference in cost is outrageous. So it would be nothing to add a CO2 system to there. So I might do that. Okay, let's see. Only use CO2 if you have high light, fast-growing plants and lots of them. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. Rurutu, that's a really cool name. I don't know anything about CO2. So there you go. If you need CO2 advice, I know you're not asking for advice, but anybody watching this that needs CO2 advice, you come to the wrong guy. Lucas, I saw a tour video. Right? Okay. Angels are my favorite. I love angels too. I'm doing a whole system of angels in the very near future. Devin Lower. Do you pronounce that Lower? Because that's my grandmother's maiden name. We might be related. Are you in the Montana area? That's just a name I don't see all that often. So I was thinking about a saltwater tank for my first tank ever. What are your thoughts? You know what? Oh, boy. I don't think that a saltwater, people are going to yell at me for this. I don't think a saltwater fish only tank is any more difficult than a freshwater tank. There's one step that's different in this than there is freshwater, and that's mixing up the saltwater. Other than that, I don't see it being over the top difficult. Now, I'm struggling with this reef tank. Everything's alive. I'm struggling with algae and stuff like that. I struggled with algae in the other one too. You'll probably struggle with algae if you get a freshwater tank too. I mean, we all, cleaning up algae is what we fish keepers do. But I don't think saltwater fish only tanks are any more difficult than a freshwater. I still don't know that I would tell you to go saltwater first. I don't know. I mean, maybe get your feet wet, no pun intended, get your hands wet with a freshwater setup first. See if doing weekly routine maintenance and feeding them every day and constantly monitoring things and becoming obsessed and watching videos of bald guys in his basement is part of your life. If that's something that you're into and that you enjoy, give it some time. And if it is, then maybe go for the saltwater. Mainly because a saltwater setup is going to be so much more expensive than a freshwater. That's why I would tell you to do it, because you can set up a freshwater tank dirt cheap, and you'd be hard pressed to set up a saltwater tank dirt cheap. There are ways of doing it cheaper, but you know what I'm saying. Somebody asked if the shrimp is out. No, he's not. He's a jerk. It's probably some algae flowing that you're seeing and you thought that might be him. No, he's not out. I have no idea where he is. The goby's in there too, but he never comes out. Okay. Best beginner coral. I am not the guy to ask that. I can tell you I'm a beginner. I'm very much a beginner. And I've got 4 corals in here. One of them is supposed to be really easy, but hasn't really agreed with me. And that's Xenia, which is my absolute favorite coral. I mean, that's the one that I wanted so badly to be able to have, and it hasn't worked for me. It's still in there, but it's not going to go anywhere. Now, the 2 that I have in here that are almost bulletproof are the yellow polyps and the green spotted mushroom. Those 2 are flourishing in this tank. I mean, they are just, the mushroom is unbelievable how big and wide open it is. And the yellow polyps are already multiplying and already spreading around the rocks. And it's no-brainer type stuff. So, and I've got zoanthids in there also that are doing really well. Those 3 have worked out really well for me, and I'm a beginner. Not a beginner fish keeper, but I'm a beginner to corals. So there you go. And actually, all but the zoanthids were recommended to me by Thayan from Tidal Gardens as good beginner corals. So there you go. Hope that helps you. From Indiana saying hello, big breakfast. I like me a big breakfast. Okay, let's see. Everybody's talking to each other, which kind of makes me feel a little neglected. He said, sorry for the caps. He's talking about the capital letters. I thought you were talking about the Washington Capitals. And I was getting scared. Like, did the Blue Jackets catch up? Not sure if you're a book guy or not, but any suggestions for good info on aquascaping and aquarium plants? Yeah, that's not going to be one for me because I'm not a book guy. I'm a visual guy. I am a tell me, show me. I'll never forget it. But if I read it, I will forget it by the time I see the period. So what's your vape channel? Kicking Butts is the name of that. Mimi, I asked a question. I don't see your question. And you have to understand, it's hard for me to go back. And if you're saying Mimi, that means you're probably like 8 years old. So I really do want to answer your question. I have a 2-gallon wine glass, no heater, what to do? Lisa could tell you what to do with that. She could take care of that real quick. Do I have a favorite live bearer? I've never been a huge live bearer person. Corey's the guy for that. So I don't know. I mean, no, I don't. I'm sorry, but I don't. Well, I'm in D.C. area, stationed at Andrews. Are you near here? I am. I'm in King George, Virginia. I mean, I'm not near you, but I'm not like halfway across the country from you either. So yeah, we're pretty close. Just got here, about to set up a nano. Any tips on Nano Reef for good lights? See, I'm striking out here today. I'm bottom of the 9th, Bryce Harper. That's what he tends to do. I love Bryce Harper. People are asking me questions about stuff I'm not a light guy. I mean, I put a light on a tank, and if I like the way it looks and everything's healthy, then it's a good light for me. So, and the light that I'm using on here is the one that came with the system. It's a LED that came with the Evo. So this hobby's people are kind of scary. They sure are. Yes, especially this guy right here. Started watching your good videos, a lot of good info. Well, thank you very much, Scott. Scott Pierce. I'm glad you like it. So I'm kind of flaming out here, folks, and I'm getting made to look like an idiot because it's not your fault. It's my fault because people are asking questions, and I don't know the answers. So do you like any Eheim products? I do like Eheim products. I don't have any at the moment, but I do like, I mean, they're at the same level as a Flooville as far as I'm concerned. They make a great product, and you look deep enough, you'll find complaints about every brand in this hobby. That's just a fact. You can read articles about how people have had nightmare stories with their Rolls Royce. I mean, everything breaks down. You're going to see nightmare stories about everything. So there's Eheim nightmare stories. There's Flooville. I don't pay attention to any of those things. What works for me, works for me. I've had Eheim products in the past, and they've been fine for me. I don't currently have any right now, though. So there you go, folks. This has been a lot of fun. My throat hurts because I've been yelling at you so much. I've had a lot of fun with this, and I hope that you can see how much fun I'm having with these tanks. I put them right next to my desk. One of them is actually on my desk. These things have been an absolute pleasure, and I'm not just saying that because I want to make Flooville happy. I'm enjoying the heck out of these things. And if you're looking for something that is different, if you've been a big tank guy like me for 23 years and you want to try something a little bit different that you can have fun with and it's easy and it's cute, try one of these. It won't cost you a fortune. You'll have a good time with it, and you can stick it right on your desk, and it'll look really cool like these. So definitely, if you are watching this and you've made it through this whole thing, thank you. That means a lot to me. If you're made it through this whole thing and you're not a subscriber to this channel, make sure you do that. I don't know really where to point. I haven't figured that out yet. Just click that red button right there. That way you can see all of the updates that I put out on both of these tanks, because I'm going to be doing some updates on this reef here sometime very soon too. And we've got the angel stuff and all of that. So you're definitely going to want to be subscribed for that. Also, if you're not a member of the Tank Talk Nation yet, if you're not a member of the Tank Talk Facebook group, get on that. Very top of the description of this live stream. Or maybe it's a half a paragraph or paragraph and a half down. I don't know. Might not be at the very top, but it's close to the top. Join the Tank Talk Nation. Join Tank Talk. Check out KGTropicals.com. Put in Tank Talk Nation in the promo box at KGTropicals.com. And I'm going to give you 10% off on top of the fact that if you order over $59.99, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to give you free shipping on top of that. So you absolutely can't lose. If you are in the market for some aquarium supplies and you like what I'm doing here, that would be a great way to support what I'm doing here. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me tonight. This has been a ton of fun. I look forward to next week, and I'm going to be busy this weekend. There's going to be videos coming out this weekend, I promise. Edited videos, not live streams. So, yeah, there it is. I am signing off now. I will see you next week with Flip Aquatics. It'll be fun. I got to turn around to stop, to say goodbye.